So the Ferrari 12 Cilindri Manuale has now been revealed. I put a video out on this a couple hours ago for you guys that I filmed yesterday, saying at the beginning of the video I filmed it yesterday, and pretty much everything I said in the video was correct, except for a couple small things we're going to talk about right now, what the final car looks like, what was different from what we expected, and maybe what was better than we expected too. Welcome back to Exotics Anonymous. Please like and subscribe for me if you haven't already. That really helps out the channel. I love to have you stick around for future videos. So let's jump into this new 12 Cilindri Manuale. The name is one of the things that we definitely talked about. I did say in the video yesterday the name was expected to be the 12 Cilindri MM, which standard for Mille Miglia, or more of just a heritage name to signify a manual transmission. But instead the car was literally called the 12 Cilindri Manuale, which is kind of very typical Ferrari fashion, just to call it a manual in Italian. So there we go. The 12 Cilindri Manuale is the official name. The car does have a manual transmission, like they said, but there's a caveat to it. I mentioned in the video yesterday that we weren't really sure if Ferrari was making their own manual transmission or if they were going to use Koenigsegg's manual transmission, which is really an automatic transmission that they simulate a manual with through a bunch of different pistons and high-tech, situations like that to simulate a manual. That is more the route Ferrari went with. So it still is the Ferrari 8-speed dual-clutch gearbox, but there's this piston inside of the shifter that simulates the feel of shifting a manual transmission, and you've got a similar piston down behind the clutch pedal that again simulates a manual transmission. And they've even gone as far as to code into the car like you can stall it if you let off the clutch too fast when you're supposed to be sliding it out slowly when you put the gear in, things like that. If you do a shift that just isn't possible, like you try to go from like 6th to 1st, it won't work. You can stall the car, even though it's not really stalling the car. You can stall the car. So it acts like a manual. It feels a lot like a manual. People that have felt it hands-on have said it even feels specifically like a Ferrari manual of old. So that's pretty impressive. They were able to replicate it to that degree. And that does answer our question kind of about, will it really be a manual? Will it not be a manual? It's a manual, but it's a dual clutch transmission that acts like a manual. So it's really a dual clutch, and you can drive it in automatic mode or with the gear shifter. There's no paddle shifters in the car at all, which is interesting. We weren't really sure if they were going to do that or not. So that's the info on the gearbox. Looks wise, we were spot on. It looks just like a regular 12 Cilindri. There are pinstripes on the the black front of the car that nobody really likes anyways. There's stripes in the black section in the front of the car that signify this is the manual one. Those same pinstripes can be seen on like the rear tail flicks as well. So that's kind of the only external differences, other than it literally saying Manuale on the side of the car, kind of behind like the wheel arches. There's a little plaque that says Manuale. When you open the door, it also says Manuale on the door cards when you get in. That's pretty cool. Interior wise, obviously the big difference is there's now a gated shifter in the middle. That classic like 6-speed Ferrari gated shifter design is what they went with, which makes a lot of sense. And it's simulating a 6-speed manual. And you might have noticed I said it simulates a 6-speed manual. Even though it's an 8-speed dual clutch, you can only access 6 of the gears in the manual mode. 7 and 8 are really for highway cruising. You can't access it in the manual mode at all. And if you really want to go to that 211 mile an hour 12 Cilindri top speed, you have to put the car in automatic mode to do it. You cannot get there in manual. It tops out at 196 in manual mode, which is interesting. I mean, kind of unique, I guess. Works for that type of car. Also on the interior, there's those stripes again from the outside that I mentioned. There's 6 of them that go up the middle of the seats, and you can get the comfort seats or the carbon bucket seats, I believe, and I think you can get that 6-stripe situation either way. So that's kind of cool. It's nice they offered something slightly unique on the inside of the car. Now the biggest thing, I mean, the name, obviously, I said in the video, I didn't know for sure if it was going to be MM or if they were going to call it something else, CS, VS, whatever. They called it Manuale, of course. This is like the same thing when this car came out and it was called the 12 Cilindri. Literally, they called the 12-cylinder car the 12 Cilindri. They called the manual car the Manuale. So there we go. The biggest thing that was incorrect was the numbers of cars. I said it was estimated anywhere from 500 to 1,000 units was the rumor. Like very limited, only top Ferrari clients getting them. They're actually going to make 1,500 cars, 1,499 to be exact, which is 50% more than the top end of our expected range. So they're making more of them than I would have thought they were going to make for sure. Still not a ton of cars. I mean, there's an extra 500 basically. So more Ferrari clients will be able to get them, but there are a lot of pretty high up Ferrari clients nowadays, so I'm sure they're all spoken for already. Either way. So performance-wise, in a way, it's inferior to a regular 12 Cilindri, but it's going to be a lot more, engaging to drive if you choose to use that manual option. I'm sure these cars will sell out quickly. They're going to trade for over sticker when they hit dealers. The price I was pretty much spot on with. I said right around 700,000 US. The starting price, base MSRP, 675,000 US dollars is the final number. I'm sure with options, these are going to be deep into the 8s probably. I'm sure there'll be some tailor-made ones that push into the 9s at close to $1 million. And I think if anyone does resell their car towards the early stage of these things coming out, the number will start with the 2 to be sure. maybe a 3. I wouldn't even be shocked. I mean, 812 Competizione Apertas are into the 3.5 millions. Speaking of Apertas, they're only offering this car as a coupe, which I thought was interesting because you would think like a V12 manual Spider Ferrari is like what people would want out of this type of car. And they're like, nope, we're only doing the coupe, purest driving experience possible, which is a very Ferrari thing to do. But I just find it a little funny that they're calling this like the purest driving experience possible, because it's not really a manual, it's a simulated manual. And like being kind of, you know, gatekeeping a Spider experience because it's not pure enough, even though it's not really a manual transmission, just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's a Ferrari thing to do, I get it, but like I feel like that's kind of a cop-out. I think they should have offered a convertible on this. The only reason I could think they're not is they want to save it for down the line if they're going to do like some, maybe they only make 80 of like a special edition convertible and it's like a $5 million car, something like that. I could see them doing something like that, but I just find it a little strange they're not offering it. We will be getting an SP4 with the manual transmission that I would assume is going to be set up more like a LaFerrari or an SP3 Daytona with the V12 behind the driver, whereas these 12 Cilindri manuals are obviously front engine V12s. So I expect to see more of this manual transition from Ferrari. I don't know if it'll be in a production model per se. Like I really don't think we're going to see like a 296 that all of a sudden has a manual in it for a production model. Maybe there'll be a limited one similar to this, but I don't expect it to be like, oh, every Ferrari is offered with a manual again. I think we'll see it in limited stuff like an upcoming SP4, maybe a special version of a 296. But I think it pretty much lived up to what we were expecting. Externally looks a lot like a regular 12 Cilindri. Inside it does have a manual transmission, but it is a simulated one like we guessed, you know, using that dual clutch transmission, but then making it feel like you're interacting with the manual. So it's trick technology. It's pretty cool. I'm surprised there's no Spider variant. I'm a little surprised how many they're making, but other than that, we were pretty much spot on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recap video of the new 12 Cilindri Manuale. I hope you saw the previous video as well. If you haven't, go check it out. It's pretty proud of it. You know, I mean, I was pretty close to what I was hearing through the grapevine versus what actually came out. So I hope you'd enjoy this Exotics Anonymous video. Please subscribe for me if you haven't already. Please have a great 4th of July tomorrow. I've got a very exciting 4th of July special video coming out. So check that out in your free time over the long weekend. And I will see you next week. Have a good one.